That sun,
Would be good. And then,
yeah.
it's that sunlight.
Didn't recognize it after these past few days.
had to buy a happy light.
They had to buy what?
Do they work?
Well, my God.
They change seasonal. It's all.
Okay. We're good. Sure.
Thank you, Katie.
Okay.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is 9:03, Thursday, January 16th, 2025. I will call this meeting of the Board of Harbor Commissioners for the Town of La Pointe to order. With us this morning, we have Jay Wiltz. Present. Susan Widmar.
Here.
Michael Collins.
Here.
Evan Erickson.
Here.
Myself, Ben Carlson.
Here.
Staff present, we have Katie Kisner, live and in the flesh, and we have Lauren Berteau via Zoom. Via Zoom, we also have Cal Linehan and Robin Russell from Miffle. And public present, we have John Carlson and Joel Davies. First up on the agenda is public comment. Take it away.
Yesterday, we got a text from the Ferry Lane Freight Office that I had a package to pick up. It was between 11 and 5. It's 4:11, so I go there, on my way home. Get there about 4:30, the things start. Buildings start, got two people leaving. I get out. And the one guy says, we're closing early. Joey's not working today. Oh, okay. Well, I turn, and on the door, there's a sign that says, sorry for the inconvenience, we're closing at 4:45. Now, I know the last boat's meeting time is 4:30. So why, there's no consistency on, I understand if somebody can't make it, or they're sick, or injured, or whatever, and they close early, but then the summary should reflect what that time was. That's all, thanks. Okay.
Public comment?
And I'm just kind of interested in seeing what happens here. Me too. I bet.
And I guess I'll comment on the email we got from Jackie Noah, the
Oh, yes.
chaperone. And I'm sorry if she felt as though, she was being personally criticized. I think that, and we're having a meeting with them this afternoon, and I'll mention that again, but this has not been rolled out in the best possible way. There's no question about that. And so, I think we are just going to have to move forward. And it sounds like the system is working pretty well now. At least I've been told that people see the kids handing in their lanyards when they're getting on the boat. And that's what we want. That seems to be working. But anyhow, apologies to Jackie if she felt that she was being personally.
Well, I did.
I don't believe her name was mentioned in the meeting. It was just chaperone.
It was
Yeah,
clear. For her, it was clear.
Yeah.
She
So
said, I'm a strong person, but I am very sensitive.
anyhow, that's all.
Anything else? We'll move on then to the minutes of the January 2nd meeting.
I'd move that we approve the minutes of January 2nd and January.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We also got the meeting minutes of January.
His motion included both.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up then is Chief Administrative Officer report.
So I have the updates of the Harbor Commission bank accounts, and this is as of Monday, the 13th. The Miffle utility checking account is just under 514,000. The January revenue as of Monday was also at $33,490.75, which puts us at just under 33% of the budgeted income for the month. Roughly on track for that. I did sit down with Robin this week and went through all of the documents that were requested, not reviewed them, but went through what she had provided. And I have that listed, the detailed payroll, the monthly bank statements and reconciliations, everything that was requested in that letter, she had in stacks for me. I am going to start in there tomorrow, going through that. My question for the commission, is there any, out of all of this, because it will take some time, is there something that you would request I start with? One thing over the other, just because it'll take time. And also, as far as like the detailed payroll goes, she does have kind of a breakdown overview that has basically, she has the actual detailed payrolls, but then she has kind of the overview spreadsheet that she had provided for us when we were working on the budget. This is a little bit more detailed than that. Is the commission okay if I'm just going in and not making copies of that, but making sure that those match up and then presenting the copy of that overview detailed? Okay. Yeah, if
And you
there,
don't have to check every single, I think if you kind of
yeah.
spot check.
Yeah,
You know,
and just so I'm like on the same page as to where she
Yeah.
has everything.
For me, looking at the previous sheet, for me, it was a question of how many do you have at this rate and how many do you have at that rate? And if you can tally it in that fashion, I would think that'd be useful.
Yeah, well, this would actually be, so after that, she provided another spreadsheet that kind of had it as like captain one at this wage, captain two at this wage. This would be more so like that, just a little bit more detailed. It doesn't include employees' names or employees' contributions to like their 401ks and everything, but I'll be able to just double check the like hourly wages and everything.
you will though have the first documents, like, almost down.
Yeah, no, I have she has that, but she also has like an overview of
Great,
basically she's
nice.
transferred it. I'm just going to double check
Yeah.
that I understand that transfer.
Yep. As we're getting into the leaner part of the season, would it make sense to start with the monthly bank accounts to see if there's any leeway in
For the,
cash on hand with the ferry
It's
lines?
not a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'll start with that. An update on the marine general liability policy. After speaking with James, it's been a lot of back and forth between the different insurance agents that have been helping us. He's read our general liability policy with that we've done through Jesse at Brimmer. Not Horton Group. So our property insurance is through Horton, but the general liability we did separately. And after he reviewed that, he basically, because of all the exclusions that are in that policy, there is no overlap that he can see with what Miffle is trying to add on with that general liability and what we already have. So I think kind of the big question now that I was discussing with Glenn earlier is now reaching out to Horton Group and seeing if we can
Close gaps.
eliminate it on that end. But from what I've been told, both from Amy and Horton Group, everybody that I've spoken with has said that this marine general liability policy would be an excellent thing to have. Because of the coverage. It's just very specific and it covers more. And according to James, he does not see, which he's been very helpful. He doesn't see where there would be really any overlap with it because of the exclusions that are in our other policy.
Good.
Which I think with the bills that were paid, Miffle has already paid like the first installment for that policy. Yeah, I had just set it to the side to be approved. Update with the ambulance billing. That's just gonna take some more time. It sounds like Liz and Sarah, I'm gonna reach out to Sarah today. But between Liz and Sarah, there's a lot of still figuring out how to do that, if they can do that. So I'll continue to work with them on that. And then really the only update that I had that's not an agenda item, we are having a meeting with both Miffle and the Bayfield School District today at 1:15 to discuss the new protocol and the school contract.
Katie, I have a question on the certificate of deposit.
Yes.
When does that mature? Do we know when? It should be pretty soon, I would think.
I can talk with Melissa about that.
I think we'll want to talk about whether to renew it, roll it over, or we may, decide that we're going to use some of that cash for, our lean period.
Okay, I will find that out.
Thank you.
Make a motion to put Katie's report on file.
Let's second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Twenty 2025 tariffs.
There's no update with this. Glenn and I haven't been able to meet yet. I was gone from Thursday till Tuesday. And then too, it sounds like we're waiting for some more information from Robin before we compare our spreadsheets and kind of nail down what our tariff prices are gonna be.
When is the deadline for that from them?
There's no deadline.
Well, there must be. To get the schedule out or.
Oh, well, to get the schedule, but from the states.
I just meant for Miffle, they need that.
Robin is on the Zoom.
Robin and Kyle,
I don't think Robin's audio is working properly. She just sent me an email, but I believe I can kind of echo what she would be saying. I hope accurately. I mean, my understanding with talking to her about this is we already have a lot of people calling in trying to do bids on projects and do scheduling for the upcoming year. So that process has already started. So from that standpoint, we're saying hang on. But yes, again, as I echo what has been said already, there isn't a deadline from the state. We can update the tariff when it's ready. It's just from a customer accommodation standpoint, for people being able to plan and then being able to get out our rack cards and get the information out. The longer we wait, that kind of backs up.
When did you do it last year?
Last year, I believe we would have had it done about right now, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
Maybe
No,
I'm
it was
wrong.
later.
It was right before the closing, I think, sometime in mid-March.
But that
I would
was
say
considered
normally-
late.
She again, I'm just going from memory, kind of off the hip here. Normally she spends, January getting that done. That's kind of why, December, January, getting it done to try and have it out. So again, she will better be able to comment on that. I think last year might have been an anomaly, but anyways, that's, I believe that's what she said to me so far on the subject.
Yeah, and the reason really, so Robin did give us information weeks ago that had all of the various line items in the tariff, but it only had the units, like, okay, how many passengers, not what was the full revenue from that line item. Okay, and so we did kind of a ballpark, right, to try to then extrapolate the number of people to come up with the revenue.
right.
And now, okay, so we've done that, right? We've come up with the revenue that we think based on that. And it comes up about $400,000 less than what our actual revenue was for fares.
So at the same rate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we were off by, almost 10%.
Oh,
And so what we've asked for, what Katie's asked Robin for, and I think Robin's in the process of obtaining, is that next column
Yeah.
of the actual dollars generated, because then you know, if we don't know what we're starting with, right? You know, we come up with 400,000, you know, it comes up to total 4.6 million. So we thought that was, and you know, now the other thing was that it was, because of when Robin got it to us, which was, you know, maybe even
Mid-December.
or early, yeah, it didn't include November or December of 2024. So she used November and December of 23.
Okay.
Okay, on that. So we have a couple different, you know, things that we need to tighten down to really, I think, be able to feel confident in what we're doing on the tariffs.
And one of the big difficulties is that is the MAG card. So the way it was broken down was just adults.
Yeah.
And then the number of units, but we don't know. Robin guessed about 40% of that usage is MAG card, but that's a guess. And then on top of it, there's 3 different rates for adults using MAG cards. I think the adult category is the highest
By far.
revenue
Oh,
category. And so you adjust that even by 10 cents, and that's a huge change in what the revenue number would be.
Right.
And then also too, there's the compact card is pretty accurate. That's a category. People use the yellow cards, but again, that's 3 different rates or 4. And again, it's a huge category, and a small adjustment in, you know, what that price is a huge swing into, you know, what the revenue number.
Right, I understand.
And then to the regular car rate, you know, because some people are paying full price for that. And then Miffle has it where the blue card gives a discount. So it's just using the numbers we were giving and trying to figure out, well, how many of those are MAG card prices, and then guessing up the kind of medium.
Yeah, you need to see it.
Right.
Yeah, I understand. So, you know, maybe that's something that Katie, another thing you could look at is how that's being broken down, and or how they're line iteming those two, if it can be broken down at this point.
Well, if we know the number of units and the number of revenue that line item brought in, we can kind of figure out what the average price is. I mean, all the other categories, it'll be, you know, pretty blank slate, but it's the adult, it's the compact, kind of the compact car. The
Seniors just a little bit.
seniors a little bit. And again, it's because there's such a, you know, a price change in the MAG card depending on when you're using it.
Peak season versus.
I totally understand what you're saying. I just think yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I just think that it's going to be pretty crucial to have that
Yeah.
very detailed so that you know, if someone's purchasing MAG card versus a cash purchase, like, well, what our revenue is going to be. It's going to be crucial to set those tariffs.
Yeah.
So once we have that information, it'll be pretty quick to decipher what the average price per unit is.
Right.
And then we can kind of figure out what we should set for tariff rates.
And that's something that Robin's working with Bob, their like consultant with the MadTix
Okay.
system, about getting that breakdown in the revenue, because it's, really the only thing that they use like their QuickBooks for is like accounts receivable, and payroll.
Okay.
So that's all gonna be in the MadTix system, that she just needs assistance with getting that kind of breakdown.
Just a note, Robin sent a message. Those ridership numbers are for just that people riding the ferry. Those numbers do not include recharging MAG card money for future ridership. And she said she's sorry she doesn't have audio.
Yeah, and I think we know that the revenue that comes in from that is recorded separately. But when the people actually use their MAG card, it shows up as revenue.
Okay. Right.
So there's an escrow kind of circumstance.
Well, yeah, we have, right now in our balance sheet, what, $200,000
Cash.
of MAG cards.
Yes.
And that shows up in the utility account, or where is that?
It's in general
It's in there.
cash. I mean, it's, right, it's a liability. So I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
On the
have it
balance sheet,
accounted
it
for.
shows up as a liability, but for us, it's sitting in a checking account somewhere.
I mean, they gave Miffle, when we closed, they basically gave us an amount equal to the balances on the MAG cards.
Yep.
Okay, so that, because they didn't have, people's charges yet,
Right.
so it would be our money. So that's there in our money somewhere.
Very good. Any more discussion on the tariffs? Then let's move on to the 2025 schedule discussion.
For the 7 o'clock vote in the, fall time, let me see here, we have October 20th to November 30th. But the last scheduled vote is, 5 o'clock. Monday through Thursday. Are we planning on having that 7 o'clock? And if we are, we should probably have it posted so that on the schedule. And there could be an asterisk in there saying, 7 o'clock per trip is subject to change based on weather and ice.
Yep.
But I think we do want it there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would think that we would maybe try to have it go as far as December 15th. And again, if we need to cancel it due to early ice up or the weather's going bad, then we have the power to change that. But I think we should, do our best to keep that on there.
Agreed.
I agree.
What about the month before that then? September?
Is it not in there either?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that 7 should also be
Monday through
Monday
Friday
through Friday.
and Saturday. Yeah.
Really starting later.
Yeah. I don't know how that gonna.
And then I think that in the springtime, that's fine, because really from April to May, you could still be battling ice in that time of year, depending on what the year is like. So I think starting that 7 to the island, around that May 9th is adequate.
I mean, realistic.
For
We
realistic.
could always, we could do it earlier if it's one of those weird years, but.
And we had talked about reaching out to the school to see how these schedule potential changes align with their needs. And
It's a good idea.
We can bring that up when we meet with them today.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Wait,
We have, assuming that we're doing daylight savings time again. Isn't it right around mid-April that the time changes and it's gonna then be kind of lighter, in the day?
Yeah, and we're gaining daylight every day on top of it.
If the darkness is a big issue with
that's the issue.
You should look at when that actually happens, I think.
Robin, Scott.
Daylight savings is Sunday, March 9th.
So early.
Oh, sorry, Robin, I missed your messages about when people use cards, it shows up as revenue. Money recorded as income previously when the recharge took place. The majority of income cash this time of year are recharges. And some even charge their accounts.
He's right, March 9th. Daylight savings.
So April 25th through May 8th, conceivably, we could start the 7 PMs. Also to the island. During the week.
And if it's an early spring, there are people coming up into to their cabins and, they leave the cities at 3, 4 o'clock.
That's
They'll
what they
catch
did
that
last
7.
year.
Yeah, we saw that last year, big time.
And we could very easily see early spring again.
Kitty will be talking with all about this.
Yeah. Discuss that with them.
there any more discussion on schedule? Move on to the approval of bills.
And just one other
yeah,
thing on
go
the
ahead.
schedule, sorry. I assume then, like, the big top stuff is gonna be handled separately from the schedule.
That's what I was gonna ask. I have like what was requested last year. I have not reached out to Gary. I was kind of thinking that we could go based off of last year, not for specific dates.
Yeah.
But for like the timeframes and like, it was very common for like, Sundays were a common request to have something later than that 8 o'clock. Which also was something that Misa had requested as well. I'm happy to reach out. I don't know how much I'm gonna.
What's Lisa's need on Sunday for a later vote?
Yes, coming in.
Late?
But yeah.
Yeah, from like the
Duluth.
flights from
Yeah, but
Duluth.
so the classes start Monday morning,
Oh, okay.
so they'll fly in
Yeah.
on Sunday and may not get to, Bayfield till 6 or 7 o'clock.
Cal has a question.
Go ahead, Cal. Sorry.
Yeah, I just, while we're going through and talking about these dates, is there, again, I know you guys are kind of setting up, 7 o'clock here and this trip here. I really like the opportunity again to sit down and, discuss so that, the Harbor Commission is aware of, adding a 7 o'clock in some areas instantly bumps you into, two shifts, right? And we ran into that same problem this year where, quite a few people came in complaining about the lack of coverage of a second earlier boat. And I would like to, go through your proposed changes and at the very minimum, make you aware, from, hey, can we cover this at a level that you expect it? What is the cost increases that I'm anticipating? And, hey, here's some of the challenges. Again, right off the bat, the number one that we've stressed since day one is how, operating at, till 8 p.m. Into December for us is a very big hazard. And, I know Evan said it and everybody said it, we can cancel. But as you can see, people getting last minute notifications of canceled trips has a huge impact. And, if you think you guys get it rough with these letters, we get it rough on the dock. We're the ones standing there when they can't go across. And so I want to make sure that, I have the opportunity to explain, hey, here's what these trade-offs are coming with. And again, I can cancel trips, because it's icing conditions and, hazardous out. But, those people, they get pretty upset about it. And I just want to make sure that we're, fully aware of what all the trade-offs are for each one of those trips. Not everyone comes with it. I'm not trying to say every time you increase it to 7 o'clock, it's a huge deal. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I'd like to go through, on each one of these items and say, I do anticipate cost increase because of this. I, anticipate having to have 2 crews. I anticipate having less coverage. I am trying to work to get more staff so that we can cover more trips with the same level of coverage. But again, I just want to emphasize I'm 2 to 3 years out from, having more staff to cover that. So in these, 2 years, these first 2 years, these 3 years, just about every time you increase the schedule, especially if you go past the 12-hour shift, there's either got to be, overtime or, reduce service to some degree. So I just want to make sure I'm communicating those things, beforehand, and that, the Harbor Commission is agreeing to all those.
How many crews are running today?
What's that?
How many crews are running today?
2 crews.
Which is part of why we're shortening the season or the schedule is to avoid that scenario, right?
No, it's about, so like when we went to the 7 earlier, we exceeded the 12-hour shift maximum. And so we had to have 1 crew come in early and 1 crew come in late. So that same 2 crews is now covering different parts of the schedule. Right now, those crews are running side by side. So what happens is that crew, if we need a propane truck at 8 a.m., well, there's a crew ready to do it. And, you know, if there's overfill at the end of the day, especially in winter right now, when we're on the Queen and the Nicheva, which there will be, we will be running almost both boats simultaneously when we switch to those boats. It's about making sure that, you know, we're running at 5 p.m.
Oh, your audio cut out, Cal.
Your audio cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's really about having the two crews here overlapping as much as possible during the critical times, like which is early in the morning and, you know, that 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So splitting that, you end up with that problem that we ran into earlier this year,
Right.
which I don't hold on to enough staff to do, you know, in these shoulders to be able to run 3 crews, you know, Monday through Friday, right? And so, I mean, that's sort of what I'm saying here is in 2 to 3 years, I can run 3 crews. You know, there's going to be a cost because I'm going to have to, you know, maintain that staff year round, you know, to be able to do this. And that's what I'm trying to say is just, hey, can we do it? I'm sure we can make things work. There's trade-offs to everything. And I just want to make sure I'm communicating those before we say, hey, run a 7. And then, you know, I've got to come back in here and you're like, well, why aren't we running the propane trucks again? Well, you know, because I don't have the staff to do everything. Or, you know, our payroll went way up. Why did our payroll go way up? Well, because you wanted me to do everything. I had to, you know, call in all of my captains and staff for overtime, you know, so we had, you know, 10-hour overtime on this month, you know, especially in these months that don't generate much revenue. And so that's, again, I'm not trying to be negative about it. I want to make sure I'm communicating, you know, when you say a 7 o'clock in that particular time slot, what does that mean? You know, what trade-offs do we have to make for that in the short run? And then in the long run, you know, again, I'm communicating that I think effectively, if we want to keep expanding our schedule, we're going to have to maintain a higher staff count year round.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've heard that.
Yeah, you did.
And Cal, thank you very much, Cal. And I'm very happy to hear that you are working towards having 3 crews. Because that does sound like it's the major gating issue for us. And I think that we wouldn't be shocked that having 3 crews is going to cost more than having 2 crews.
Right.
And so, you know, we do have the ability, you know, we do have the ability to raise tariffs to cover that. We don't have the ability to just magically produce crew.
Right. And I'm just saying, I'm working on it. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm getting captains in. We've got a lot of awesome captains in training right now. I've got 2 mates that are going to captain school this weekend. You know, so we're moving a lot of people up. I've got a lot of people in the pipeline, but you know, you need 360 sea days, which can be tough to you know, do. So we usually factor 2 to 3 years.
Thank you, Cal.
Just to circle back to your question about Chautauqua, it would be good to have Gary engaged in the discussion, so there's some real specificity as opposed to trying to second guess.
He doesn't have any acts booked at this point.
Don't know.
I think 2.
I don't know.
It's
Well,
so
we
good
can
to
see if
start
he
the
has an
conversation.
inkling.
I think, yeah, we did it last year and I think it was useful.
And I think, well, we don't really have a firm number on what the special vote will be until the tariffs are set.
Yeah.
But I think the earlier we initiate the conversation, the better for everyone.
Right.
Okay, I'll reach out to him and I have kind of like what was requested. I understand like the dates will be
Yeah.
different, but like, I know like the 2 scheduled timeframes that those requests will fall into. And then also kind of like the dates that the schedule, like the last vote is the same. So unless Big Top's schedule has changed and their shows are earlier, I know that like Thursdays were a big deal and Sundays were a big deal. And even on Saturdays, like I know like what that request is going to be if it's on one of those days.
But we might be able to
So
potentially even manipulate their schedule by
Or influence.
what's
Yeah,
available.
influence.
yeah, and so I'll reach
And
out to
times.
Gary about
Yes.
that.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a discussion.
This is probably a good time too to mention that they're planning on implementing the 6:45 morning boat change or entire schedule change, I believe on the 22nd.
21st.
21st.
And well, she said the 21st. I don't know. Let me double check.
And what about the 5?
That's
So the 5 is staying
okay.
Okay.
according to what she sent me. It's
Good.
just the 7 AM is going to be different. It's going to switch to the 6:45.
Jump in, Cal.
Yep. So, yes, that is on Tuesday, the 21st. We're going to start the 6:45. We've been running the Island Queen ahead of the LaPointe, and that's been leaving at 6:50 or 6:45 to make a trail for the LaPointe. But we're shutting down the LaPointe on Monday. We're already seeing four inches of ice. We're pretty much at its limit. So we'll be shutting down the LaPointe on Monday. So that's where the Queen will have to be leaving. At that earlier time. And then, the current plan is because, I understand, the Harbor Commission really wants to hold on to that 5. We're going to hold on our end to running that, Monday through Thursday, that 5 o'clock until, we start seeing some heavy ice build up in the harbors, which, at this point, we're just going to, again, just like this, take it, week by week. But I'm not seeing anything, in the next week that's going to cause that. I'm hoping to stretch that out 2 weeks or more.
So for the next couple of weeks here, that morning boat, morning trip, are you anticipating seeing both the Queen and the Nicheville run to keep up with the flow of traffic?
So at 6:45, I can only have the Queen, right? So because I have to leave the Nicheville on the island as the ambulance boat. So I anticipate the 6:45 being one boat. We, get over to the island. We'll have 2 boats coming off the island at 7:30. Hopefully, otherwise one at 7:30 and one at 8, depending on if it's a mainland crew starting it up or an island crew starting it up. Then, we go back. We should have 2 boats essentially ready to go at 8:45 every day.
Okay, that answers my question. I wondered if there was leeway to run the 6:45 and still maybe accommodate the teachers and stuff, but you answered that. So thank you.
Yep. And I just again want to say too that if the weather changes and the ice starts disappearing, there's different hazards that we can run into. But I'm certainly, if I can get the LaPointe safely back online and we can get back to running a 7 o'clock, I will do so as soon as we can.
Thank you.
And Methyl will be posting this by the end of the week.
Any more scheduling discussion? No? Let's move on to the bills then. There are a number of notes here.
Yeah, so I'd see a lot of reimbursement for clothing. I'm wondering what the clothing reimbursement
50 for the year for
per employee. What's the town's, do we know what the town's policy is?
Well, general employees don't have a clothing allowance. I mean, the fire, the firefighters, the police, that's all provided for by the town, pretty much 100%. And, it runs into the thousands of dollars per person.
Sure.
But those things last, of course, hopefully for 10 years or so.
I think that this town covers some PPE, like the reflective jackets.
Yeah,
and
I
gloves.
think I get
For the road crew,
one
yeah,
reflective coat a year.
yeah.
And maybe a pair of boots if you leave them at work.
Okay, because they're, and I know. I guess if they're tracking it, then that's fine. It's just a lot. Another thing is the salt sander for 5,000 and the sand, salt sand. I think that we need to be more notified that they want to make a purchase, an asset acquisition like that. Because again, money's tight this time of year, and to spend $5,000 this time of year is tight. I mean, they've made it this many years without one. So that's just my concern on that note. And then I forgot what else I had written in there.
The town already had.
I mean, the town does, and to bring it over there, not really efficient, but also, there was that little tractor bot, and I think there was some sort of spreader that was purchased for it. It's just, spending $5,000 this time of year on something is, it's just, you know, things are tight.
Thank you, Evan, for bringing that up.
And then also travel reimbursements again. It'd be nice to use the vehicles that we have if possible. I mean, a trip to Hayward and back. I would think that one of our vehicles could do that rather than giving out reimbursement for private use.
Like before will be, since they're online, they're hearing all this, and Cal has his hand up.
Go ahead, Cal. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to address these things in the form of questions. I mean, you're sort of saying, well, you're saying, you know, we should be notified of this, and why have they gotten away for so many years without it? Well, we had somebody that came and did it for us. That person is no longer coming and doing it for us. You know, we need to sand our lot, and we bought one of the cheapest used, nice sanders that we could get. It's not a brand new purchase. Brand new, it would have been twice the cost. We did our diligence. We got price comparison. How much does one slip and fall in that lot cost us? We don't have a sander for the tractor. We ended up trading that in because it was not effective. And we got, money back for that towards other parts for the tractor. So, I mean, I can recognize that you want some more clarity, but, some of these can be asked in questions that I can easily explain. But if I'm, to sit here and justify every, $500, $1,000, $5,000 on keeping the ferry running, it's going to be a long list all the time. I mean, that is why we set those numbers in our contract. But I'm happy to answer them, if you want to shoot an email as to why they stopped sanding our lot.
Yeah, and I think that that's partly on me as well as providing these invoices. I usually have it in the town hall like the day before. I will try to have that stack for the next month's reimbursement in here as soon as I can. As soon as I've reviewed it and have it in here that way. For any questions like these, it's not the day of the meeting. I can go to Robin and Cal and ask discussions as far as questions that I didn't have, but that others have looked over, to try to clarify things before the day of.
We need a motion.
Yes, we do.
There were 2 expenses on there that I pulled to essentially be approved. One was for the marine general liability payment, which
I think second page here is that.
yeah, so that breakdown there.
Just this one total is what we're.
Yes, if those are approved, then that total is what, and then there was also a clothing reimbursement in there that, like I said, Miffle has a yearly allotment. I just noticed that the date on the purchase was after this person already technically retired, but I guess is still on the payroll for the 2024 year. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, these are the kinds of things we would want to address in questions before I this house.
Well, I did ask Robin about that one, and she did clarify. She clarified that she was on, like, was technically still on the payroll for the rest of the 24. So she was an employee and she did have that allotment for the year. So I just wanted to point that one out.
Well, I will move that we authorize reimbursement of this list of expenditures totaling $191,729.69.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Can't take this. Motion carries. Review of Miffle management contract. I'll move that we table agenda item 9, or not table, but move agenda item 9 to
Yeah,
the end. After number 12.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Next, we will look at future agenda items then.
We got tariff discussion and probably 2025 schedule for next meeting.
I've
And
got both
Scrap.
of those. I don't think I heard you guys say anything else within the meeting that you wanted added.
Probably just a schedule update for what the boats are being run. I don't know if there's any, probably nothing that will have to be on agenda for the school.
We could do an update, but that could be done.
Big
I can
Top,
just put that in my report for,
is it too soon to have Big Top followed up?
I'm gonna reach out to Gary, so that can be part of the 2025 schedule.
Yeah.
Discussion.
That's
Um,
great.
The
So,
big one will hopefully be tariff discussion.
Michael Collins, do you think you'll have an update about the website newsletter with Lee?
I'm not certain enough to put that on the agenda, but I can let you know later on in the week.
And I can reach out as I did this week and confirm that with you.
Yep.
And do we think that we'd be ready next week? I'd like to have the tariff issue wrapped up sooner rather than later so that,
Yeah.
they can
that's
get the
a
schedules
real
going.
question for Robin. Will Robin be able to get us the spreadsheet with that Katie asked for a couple days ago, here in the next day or two?
Yeah, she can type.
She's sending it to.
You know what the date is next Thursday?
The 23rd.
Next Thursday is the 23rd and the following Thursday would be the 30th.
Oh, we could wait for an update. Schedule the meeting. I don't know if we
yeah,
need to schedule
Robin's
it.
aware that that's what we're waiting on to move forward with it,
To
so.
schedule next meeting.
Sound who owns the platform.
We could just send an email whenever.
Yeah.
See,
Let's say to be determined at this point.
You're saying the date for the next meeting?
Yes.
yeah, it depends on what we get.
Right.
Right. Really, I think a lot
I
relies
should
on.
be able to get the traffic numbers by
Robin
Monday.
says by Monday.
It makes it a little tight to have it ready by
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah.
Let's
Plan on the
let's
30th.
plan on the 30th then.
Okay.
Next meeting is 30th.
Next up is public comment. B.
I'd like to, channel my inner drummer and maybe request that we try to move these meetings more in the 4 or 5 o'clock range in the day. It's, it's kind of disruptive to at least my work schedule. It'd be appreciated if we could move it into the evenings. I understand if we gotta keep it in the morning. Or we move to 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, now that Carol's not on the commission,
Yeah.
that might be a possibility.
9 o'clock is just it's a funky time.
Yeah, it works perfectly for me because I can do my rounds and then show up here without worrying about the end of the day. And I don't want to cut into my family time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's sort of been a consistent position, but I appreciate, is 8 o'clock, it worked for us at the early stages.
it's just Carol that didn't like it.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with 8.
I would too.
Totally fine.
You okay?
Yeah.
So, would you like to start doing that on the 30th and have the meeting scheduled for 8 AM instead of 9?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I would. So just point of information, yesterday was the confirmation hearing, for the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the transportation department is a big deal for the Harbor Commission. And he was introduced by both the senators from Wisconsin. And actually Senator Baldwin sits on the Transportation Committee. And they have, as Senator Baldwin said during her introduction of Sean, the two of them have a very good working relationship. I am hopeful that perhaps the stars might line up sometime in the next 4 years. And we can perhaps get the Department of Transportation to consider some funding for a new boat.
That would be great if we could get some federal assistance.
Certainly knows our area.
But the way our community has grown, the small icebreakers are just not feasible anymore.
And I'm guessing that Secretary to be Duffy has taken the ferry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And was the raise grant like a 2-year cycle?
And the raise grant was an EP, was
No, that was
that
DOT.
transportation. It
Yeah,
was
that was
the
DOT.
Clean Ports was the EPA. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but anyhow, we have potentially a friend at the Department of Transportation.
And we also have, I don't know if this is appropriate for a discussion now, but we can, if you're talking about stars aligned, for who's asking and when we do, we can, I think, make every effort to get the governor's office, who've been very supportive of us in the
Mhm.
past,
Mhm.
to help be the tip of a spear for an ask,
Mhm.
as well as our electeds. Don't know the Republican, the Senate version, but I do know we have a friend in the Assembly.
Anyhow, just food for thought, mostly for Cal and Robin to think about as we move forward.
That's great. All right, if there's no more public comment, let's revisit agenda item number 9, review of the Madeline Island Ferry Line Management Contract.
So
You want a motion?
I'll make.
Oh, that's hand up.
Did you have your hand up, Cal?
I think he was waving
He has
goodbye.
to say it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Were we gonna make adjustments to this or no?
Do we need to
I don't
go
know.
into the session?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and stopped.
If we have discussion, we need to go into closed session,
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
but
Okay. Has it been moved?
it has not.
I'll move that we go into closed session
I'll second.
for purposes of deliberating under statute 19.851E.
We got to do an individual vote.
I'll second that motion and vote. Jay
I vote
Wells,
aye.
Susan?
Widmar, aye.
Bye.
Evan?
I
I am an aye. Glenn?
Aye.